So I've just finished applying a coat of clear gel and white here to the top of the canvas or sky area. And down here I've got some tape, and that just gives me a horizon line, although I actually think my horizon's gonna not really be shown, but there it is anyways. And then I've got just a dry canvas down here for the seascape, which, you know, you could put a coat of clear gel on there if you wanted to, but dry is just that much safer, in my opinion. So, clear gel and white on the sky, so we can go ahead and get a blend. I'm gonna take some of our yellow ochre and our Hansa yellow, mix these together, a little bit of our red, not too much red. Okay, mix these all together so I've got a peach color. That's pretty, I think we can work with that. Part of the tape here really helps to figure out where that horizon line is, just in painting the sky, you know. If you didn't have it there for any other reason, it's kind of nice for just letting me know where I'm going, you know, without having to sketch it all in. That works. Hey, before we go too far, let's take a look at the paintings that you guys did at my last one. It's always fun to see what you're up to. So use the link there in the description, and then you can share your paintings with me, and I'll put them in the next video if I see them in time. Now I've got a color here that's just a very light, soft pastel purple color, very soft. See that? Very much to the red side. In fact, I might even go a little bit more to the red side, just mostly for safety, not so much for the art of wanting a more of a red. It's just for safety. And there's still a lot of yellow in that color, and I don't really want it to turn green if I can help it. There we go. That's pretty decent. I'm just gonna float the clouds across. Not really too concerned with it. I do want to leave a lot of my yellow showing through at the bottom. Not a lot, just a little, actually. I say a lot, but it's not going to be that much. You know what? I need to take a minute and thank the members that are over on Patreon. And if you've missed out on that and you'd like to sign up, we're having a lot of fun over there doing live streams and just fun stuff. So if you want to join, you can check out the information in the description. And there we go. Yeah, this is working. I'm gonna put a little more blue as I go up into the corner. I think it's safe enough up here where I won't get green. I'm just not interested in green in my seascape. Not in the sky. The ocean, it'd probably be okay. I think the sky, we probably shouldn't. I'm gonna develop these clouds further, really get some more detail going, and I will be pushing into a little bit of the blue colors very carefully and safely, I might add, not just randomly. But there you go. See that? Just a few stringy clouds along the base, right here along the bottom. And then of course, as you go up, you want your clouds much, much larger, taller clouds. That will give the effect that the sky's coming over you instead of flat. Lots of color in the sky. Pretty subtle, not too crazy. That fair bit of contrast. Now I'm gonna put in really the vast bulk of the clouds that are up here toward the top of the sky. I'm gonna put them in with this bluish purple. There we are, some light, and some I'll kind of leave, you know, or I should say some dark areas, then I'll leave just some light areas around it. There, because I don't really want this to be totally dark. I do like the idea that there's my color, by the way. Decent little, very much blue purple. Of course, there is some red in it, or else it would just be kind of silly looking. It really, Prussian blue just as a cloud doesn't really work very well. This whole pocket of light, it would actually do me really a lot of benefit to leave that light pocket and some of this dark and not cover. So keep as many of the variations intact as possible. That's important. It's super important. It's not something that it's not something you think about all the time. You know, you just, I'm just gonna paint a cloud. But I am watching, what you say, well, what are you watching? You know, what are you doing when you paint clouds? I am looking for the variation to not mess it up, because the variation, I see some right here, is my #1 thing in a painting. I'm gonna give the sky a quick blend, although I don't know that it needs a lot. It's important to keep your blender brush fairly clean by wiping it on a paper towel. Otherwise, you won't be blending, you'll be painting. If you don't know what I mean, just, you haven't done very much painting. But anyway, I'm going to just work on mainly the bottom. It's okay to leave the top a little rougher. Keep the bottom a little softer. What does that do? What it does is that helps to create that effect that we're trying to get of that sky coming on top instead of just being flat. Cool. I'm going to remove this tape And again, it just helps me establish that horizon line. Typically in a seascape, that's important. Today it's not, but I did it anyways. So I'm just gonna take a purple color, just whatever's on my palette there is fine. And not too much paint. I'm going to just sketch in my basic wave shape. So, you know, my splash may be right here. Of course, it wouldn't make much sense to sketch a lot of this with a tape going right through it, because a lot of my wave is right here on that horizon line. The eye of the wave is going to be roughly in that spot. And I'd love to see some form of, even starting way up here, some form of cliff action. That's why this is blank. There you go. Maybe even, yeah, drop off. Why not? We can do that. Some sort of a drop off cliff thing going on. I like that, you know. Sometimes these little cliffs make a huge difference in the seascape. Really will bring it to life. Now I'm just beginning to shape the wave here with the color. Kind of a muted greenish, well, there it is on my palette. It's just a yellow ochre and mud. It was that color plus yellow ochre plus white. Made that. You know, sometimes you just sort of mix on the fly and see what happens. So it's exactly what we're doing here. And I like that. That's going to be my color for the seascape. Here's what we need to do. We need to take a shop towel and remove the paint from this big mass of rocks. That's very important. If we didn't do that, it would be hard to paint the water on top, or any details up there for that matter, because I put it on pretty thick. And I'm working in just some of these shades here of sea foam color, you know. Nothing crazy. I'm not totally locked in yet at this point. Well, am I ever really locked in? We've done big trees right down the middle of a painting only to take them out, so I don't know about that. But my point is, I'm just going in here, not crazy, just trying to get some color to work with. Try to establish kind of this shape of the wave. There you go. See that? And then you can come up in here and begin to just block in some of your, come on now, I want a little more blue in that color. But you come up here and begin to block in some of the foamy areas that are going to mush and transition right into the green, that sea green color. Very pretty. You know, it's just little by little, nothing here in the seascape comes just super quick. Very much a little by little experience with seascape painting like that, but it's pretty, isn't it? We don't need to be so perfect with it. Now I've stopped painting for a second because I'm going to remove some of this paint with a shop towel. Imagine that. But let's start here in the light areas. What I'm going to do is just rub it right into the canvas. This does as much good, you know, rubbing it in as it does removing it, because if you can just mush it in, really grind it well into the canvas, what is there will be very hard to make mud with, and what's removed, well, it's not in your way anymore. So I definitely am for wiping the canvas off. It just makes things so much easier. Now I'm actually going back up to the sky. I've got my little detail brush, and I'm just going to carefully, because this brush is soft, I can typically get away with this sort of thing. I'm going to just carefully bring in a few darker blue clouds. Just while I was doing the ocean, I realized, you know what? In order for this ocean to be as dark and I want more blue in the ocean, I need to have less of purple in my sky. So I'm gonna go over some of these clouds, not all of them, just some, with this blue, and just increase the level of blue in the skies, in the clouds, so that I think we'll just have a little better contrast. In fact, you can already see that developing into a little bit more of an interesting looking cloud. Now you see what a big difference this makes. It really does make a huge difference. See, I've got just a lot of that blue, and it really helps to kind of pull it forward. It softens the sky nicely. I think it was too warm before, and I'm really happy with the way it's starting to come together. I've certainly gone a little further than I thought I would, but so far, and even still, you can see I'm going little bits by little bits. I'm not going in with much all at once. Now I'm going to bring in some of this blue from the sky, kind of that same blue color. Just bring that in down here. I like that I can go a little bit more on the blue side than I could previously and get away with it because of the blue up there. So right here is going to be a lot of rocks. I'm just establishing my foam. Now I'm going to bring in some of these darker patches of color. Obviously I left a couple of a couple of blank spots open for these colors, but you don't have to stick with just those blank areas. We need to see actually a lot more than just those blank areas. We'll do that now. It's important, at least I think it's important to me in my painting today, to at least keep this. You can see it's nice and dry still where it is kept blank. At least keep somewhat of the idea of my waves here intact. I don't want to lose all of what's going on, because then I'm going to have to relocate it again. That'll just take more time. See, I've kind of located my waves. You see what I mean? Now I think just for the sake of the painting, we're going to be better off if we go ahead and fill this blank area in with some sort of color. Just pick some, here's my palette. I'll just pick some rusty colors and whatnot. Because if I leave this white patch white for too long, it's going to drastically throw off my color mixing. Partly why I didn't, know I wanted to change the sky until I got my water begin to come in. I was like, oh yeah, I see it now in relationship to the other things. And you can make far, far better choices about what you want to do in your painting. Now this area here is very dry because we wiped that off with a shop towel. And now I can take just the corner of the fan brush and begin to splash right along this kind of dry area. And I don't want to destroy all of my my haze, because by wiping it, I've got some haze on it now. And I don't want to destroy that haze, and I will if I'm not careful. Of course, I can put it back in by wiping it again, but I only want to do that so many times. The only thing you don't want is mud. If you do get mud, stop and wipe the canvas off and try again. It's just that easy. You really can try again. It's just not that hard to reset. It's not that hard to go again. I think right now is a good time to place in these bigger stones. The ones that, of course, the wave is going to be splashing against, and it gives it a reason for it to look the way it does. Tell you the truth, maybe we'll just go maybe like 2 like that, and do we want anything while I still have this color? Maybe it's just brown and black. Maybe one right there. A little larger, a little more interesting there. Try not to make turtles, but try to just hit them, just little slashes of color. See that? Or in this case, not really a color, but you see what I mean. Little slashes. There, good, yeah, maybe. And over here as well, perhaps. This is getting close. I don't really need to do a whole lot more over here. I don't want it too bright. If you make everything in a seascape bright, it looks like somebody took a big floodlight and illuminated your painting. But if you do what I did here, just shrink that light source down and leave everything else muted. I mean, it's got highlight and shadow, but it's muted. I think you'll find that you like the result better. At least I tend to like that result better. So now I'm going to go ahead and begin to outline and structure our waves here. These lower waves, the back wave, I'm going to try really hard not to touch it anymore. It's easier said than done. Now, nobody, oh yeah, don't touch it anymore. That's easy for you to say. Now you go try that on your own painting. Yeah. But I just don't think much is necessary. We've got such a beautiful sky, the light there, and that beautiful light on the wave. We get dark here, so we can have dark down here. If that makes sense. Balancing the painting, making it feel just natural, You don't have to push it all the time. Try to make it bright everywhere. If you actually reserve your light, you'll end up with a better effect. Now I'm going to touch on just a little bit of highlight here to some of these tiny crashing waves that we built up. And I'm using the fan brush technique because I think that really worked out pretty good last time. Put it on with a corner and then, soften it. And just by using a few of the bristles, see, I'm not using the whole brush, but I'm just using some of the bristles, touching it very, very delicate there, not mushing in too hard. And I think what that's going to do is it's going to kind of give me these little, well, I don't think I know, it gives me little lines and textures that I wouldn't otherwise have. So I like that. I like the way that really works. Of course, if you go overboard, you can, just like anything else, get back in there with some dark and fix it, but yeah, that'll be all right. So yeah, I'm just using this to sort of transition from the light foam into some shadow foam, because it wouldn't just stop where the light stops. It would transition into this grayish blue foam for sure, So we'll do that. It's the little things. Let me tell you, it really, with a seascape like this, it's the little things you do. Forget about the big things. Concentrate on those little things. Let me tell you, it's gonna come out good. Now I'm gonna put just a little shimmer of highlight right here on the water. See that, just a little shimmer of highlight. Kind of keeping with the theme of that light coming through the middle. And just little by little, we'll build this up. I'm not gonna go too large with any of it. Kind of keep it fairly small. Of course, we can do a shimmer. Probably should do a little bit of that light hitting just the edge of a lot of these waves, and I can do that just by dabbling. If you can't get it to stick, change to the liner brush, because we're almost done with the water at least. Gotta go do those rocks here in a minute, but I'm gonna brush in just a little bit of sand here to go around my rocks. You can see I just begin putting some shadow in on the rocks. So put a little sand around my rocks, just like that, creating a nice uneven shape that slopes up. And then if you want to, just highlight out a couple of these little rocks. I will just pick a kind of a grayish color somewhere right in there. It looks pretty good. And then you can literally just pick out a couple of highlights on the rocks. Maybe do that with a liner brush. You're starting to get kind of thick here, but either way, detail brush or liner brush, same idea. Just a few, not all, but just some of these stones here that would catch just a little bit of this light from the sun. It's not a crazy warm, yellowy anything going on. Even the sky's not super yellowy. Remember, we offset it with so much blue. And I'm liking the way that that's playing through the painting, just for something different. You could do the same painting, totally change the colors, and you get a different feel to it. I'm looking forward to seeing your version of this one. Just putting the final touches here on a couple of these rocks, just trying to establish a little bit of a cliff kind of face going on here. Nothing too crazy, just enough to show, oh, there's a little something back here, but not incredibly detailed, too far away. And we don't have that much depth in the painting. So this being kind of blurry is a good thing to establish a little bit more depth, but that's nice right there. It's just enough. I might do a little more work in that area, but I'm gonna take the fan brush and some of our just kind of a dark green, mushy, brownish green color, and I wanna begin to put in, right here, I'm gonna put in some of these old coastal evergreen trees. That I think is gonna be very pretty. Now, we need them to be extremely kind of ragged, so I'm gonna just pay close attention, you know, that I don't get them too solid and they're nice and open and ragged and airy, and that's about all I want out of them. Good. To highlight, how do you highlight that? Well, I just highlight with something simple, maybe a kind of a yellowy ochre with some Hansa yellow, something, I don't know, very simple. And just go right outside and lay that highlight on, and then you can get in. Now I know that looks weird, but then you get in with a clean brush, filbert brush or something. Let me find something that's clean at this point. And I'm gonna begin to just sort of manipulate that color on the canvas and not really worry too much about it. See that? Just let it, however it works. I don't want your eyes to go here really at all. This just fills in and helps bring a little focus to the land area, but not to a big extent, that's for sure. My point is, I'm probably not gonna get the detail brush out on any of that. I just don't think it's necessary. Now, would it really be a seascape painting without flicking some of this white down? It's just a yellowy white to create a bit of a splash. It just, to me, adds so much to a painting. I mean, so much. Of course, if you do anything you don't like, you just have a clean brush standing by you, just because there's so much paint on the canvas at this point, you just touch it and it disappears. In here, let's get, I don't want too much here, just enough. Begin to, oh, there we are, begin to just flick on a little splash even to this one. We'll just do that basically everywhere. Obviously, it shows up better over the dark areas, but you can change to dark color and do some of that as well. Maybe up in the sandy areas. Yeah, well, anyway, there you go. Pretty repetitive, but it is a nice effect. Well, that about wraps things up for today. Hopefully you enjoyed this seascape painting. Don't forget to check out our website, DVDs, and brush line. Thanks for watching. Well, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Remember to subscribe if you're not already, and click the like button. That helps me out a lot. Stick around, watch a couple more videos, and stay inspired.